afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Cannabis Live. I'm Craig Aronoff, along with my new colleague, Travis Copenhager. Welcome to Cannabis Live at the Cannabis Legal Group. Say hello.
Hi, thanks for having me, everyone.
Yeah, so we're really happy to have Travis along with us now. He is a new attorney at our firm and will be handling a number of different matters for us. I'll let him introduce himself in a few moments, but what I want to do is, of course, welcome everybody to our Cannabis Live, and we do this every Friday here from the Cannabis Legal Group. What we'll be talking about, of course, are a lot of changes in Michigan's medical marijuana market, and certainly trying to, look as we get closer to this licensing phase, keep everybody up to date on what's going on. On our website, you'll find at the top of our page there, the cannabislegalgroup.com/municipalities. I think it's very important to tell everybody that we have a new page on there, and it's a map. So as you look at it, you'll see red and green, and just, find your community and see where we're at. I also encourage you to collaborate with that. If you see anything you didn't expect to see, if you thought something was different or a change that you want to make, please let us know. It's very important that we keep it as up to date as possible, and it is a collaboration with the entire community. So we appreciate all of your feedback. In fact, you were somebody that gave us a couple of comments from time to time. The fact of the matter is we also have a jobs page at cannabislegalgroup.com/jobs. If you're interested in joining the industry and you have a resume that you want to forward, we'd love to see that from you. And lastly, please look for us as individuals at the Michigan Small Cannabis Business Association. It's something that our firm is proud to have got going and sponsored, but now it's running its own. We have more than 150 members that have joined that, and it's a great time to collaborate and share a common voice for the community. So we got through some of the business of what we're at. Travis, tell us a little bit about yourself. I think it's
sure.
You're a new associate here, so let everybody know what you do and where you come from.
Sure. Well, I've been practicing law for about 4 years now. Originally, I started out doing trademarks in entity formation. Doing that, I did trademarks for a variety of industries, pretty much any industry you could think of. But several of the companies I was helping out in California were in the cannabis industry out there, and doing, I'd say, 6 to 10 of those marks got me really interested in the medical marijuana and marijuana in general from a branding perspective. In 2015, I joined a firm where I've been practicing medical marijuana issues, mostly on the municipal side of things, and I've been doing that ever since. So.
Yeah, and so I guess what we're really happy to have is, of course, that experience in the mud. Like myself, Travis has been traveling the state of Michigan, talking to a number of different communities, first trying to get them to opt in, and then separately helping them draft ordinances. That's something you've done a lot of.
Yep, quite a bit.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that experience and different places you've seen around the state.
Sure. Well, I've probably been to all corners of Michigan on these different projects. A lot of traveling. But every community is different. Some communities have different needs, and I really enjoy getting out there and working with those groups to see what makes sense in their communities and helping them kind of come up with language to fit not only their needs and concerns, but to facilitate a healthy industry. And it's been great. I especially love, getting the different opinions and reactions to all the different issues as they come out.
Yeah, I'd say like me, you love engaging the different communities, whether they're pro it or against it, or just want to have a conversation about it. Education is what it's about. And it's something we've been preaching here at the Cannabis Legal Group for some time, and Travis has certainly got a lot of experience in doing that, and we're happy to have him join us for that purpose as well. As we move forward here in the market, you mentioned trademarking, and so we know, and we're seeing, and we're going to talk about in a few minutes, new education seminars, and both Travis and I attended Wednesdays, so we can give you some firsthand feedback on that. But what we saw is that businesses have to have some level of maturity in order to apply for this license, and so within that, of course, will be the planning, which we've often talked about here on our Facebook Lives. But the word trademark is something that's a little bit unique in the sense that we haven't really been discussing or pushing that. Tell us what trademarking is and how you see that being a benefit to the industry as a whole, and how it's going to affect our clients moving forward.
Sure. So a trademark is effectively an image or a set of words that indicate the source of a good or a service. So any business is going to have some sort of branding, whether it's your logo, like you have on your shirt here, the name of your company or law firm. Those all are potentially trademarks. And the way you develop a right to your brand and develop yourself is you're either providing services or you're providing goods. And when you label those things and you want your consumers to start thinking about who you are and the types of products or services you provide, you develop goodwill. Companies, have good reputations for quality services or poor ones. And what you can do to protect yourself is to establish some places where you prevent your competitors from being able to use something that's confusing or something that's yours. So, for example, if I wanted to sell soda, I can't just go out there and start calling my product Coke. They have a right to label their product and develop it so that when it's on a store shelf and I spell mine with a K and they spell it with a C, someone might get confused where'd that come from. So those are the types of protections you can establish. Branding's also, has a lot of marketing potential. If you come up with something that's creative, that might resonate with your consumers or even make you look professional and from a business-to-business transaction, you can really go a long way. It's not only protecting it, but coming up with something that works for you and does work, both from protection and getting yourself out there in the industry.
And so we're not only talking names, of course, it's the logos as well. And is there, and let me just tease it this way. I would expect that in an upcoming Cannabis Live, we're going to be talking much more in depth about that. As you can tell, Travis has a great deal of experience in that, and we're going to leverage that for the benefit of our viewers and the people that follow us here on Facebook. But that's, I guess, really a deeper conversation for another day. But the tip of the iceberg is there's a lot of work to be done. But the last question I have as it relates to that is why is that important as we're talking about getting into licensing?
Sure. Well, all of these are going to be new companies that are going to be not only selling products and services to one another, but there's going to be products that are going to end up on store shelves. When you're developing, let's say, a medical product or a strain that is something you develop as a company, there's branding implications for that. When you are a business and you want to potentially place, medical marijuana in one provisioning center, they want to know who you are. They want to know your reputation. Not only are your products good when they get them, but they want to decide to purchase them in the first place. And as these new developments and relationships, exist throughout our state, you're going to be able to compete, at least anywhere across the state if you have the ability to do so. And being able to position yourself to not only look like a company you want to work with, but also have a line of products that might sell well to the different consumers is really going to do you a lot of, economic benefit. So it's good to start thinking sooner rather than later.
Definitely. And to the extent that you have your brand or your logo, when you do file at the state level, we are going to be providing that so that the state has some semblance of the work you've done to prepare yourself to be in this industry. And as we mature these companies, because a lot of them are really onset and startups, that's going to be one of the processes one of the I's to dot and T's to cross as we get further along in this process. So as we've seen every week over the last number of weeks, probably since mid-September, Laura has been very active. Mm-hmm. Laura has been doing a lot to keep us updated through the courses that they've now offered that started on Wednesday, but also through bulletins. And there's been a lot of discussion and concern regarding these capitalization requirements that were stated to us last mid-October at the meeting in mid-October, but it took them about 3 full weeks to actually issue the bulletin. So we have that now, and we know what the specific requirements are, but there's also, I think, a little softening over the original concern regarding that. So as we deal with the numbers and we talk about how Director Brisboe first described it, and then compare it now to how Laura has ultimately issued its bulletin, I think it's consistent with some comments we made last week about the dispensary opportunities to stay open during the licensing phase, and that Laura has been listening. Mm-hmm. It's not a perfect thing, don't get me wrong. I wish there were no capitalization requirements. It's not something I'm agreeing with. I actually wrote my opinion to Laura through its site, said as much. But as far as they're listening, at least we got some softening of it. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, let's break down the numbers. So from a grower license perspective, why don't you lay out what the 3 capital requirements are for that?
Sure. So they have listed as a Class A grower, you need $150,000 in capitalization. Class B would need $300,000, and then a Class C grower would need $500,000.
Yeah, so it seems like an awful lot of money that might be needed, and what I think is strange about it is that originally they said a Class B, well, we just doubled the Class A, but when we get to a Class C, which is only 3 times a Class A, we actually have 3 plus that amount. So again, the how they came up with these numbers and what they specifically have to refer to are things we don't agree with. Right. But nonetheless, that's what we're stuck with. Well, a processor license is similar to a Class B as well as a provisioning center at $300,000. And then the other two come in a little bit lower. The safety compliance and the transporter are $200,000. Yep. I find it to be a little bit unusual, of course, that the safety compliance and the transporter come in a little bit less, even though the transporter might be actually hauling the most amount of money,
right,
and the most amount of value in what they
need to maintain at least some sort of vehicle fleet to facilitate
security, GPS.
Same with the safety compliance facility; they need pretty sophisticated equipment that's going to be pretty expensive. So,
yeah, I thought that was kind of curious that here we have these probably too high cost of entry in the actual physical assets you're going to need for purposes of operating. Yet a lower capitalization requirement, right. Simply because they're not necessarily actually touching the flower, so to speak. Right. They're not growing, processing, or selling it. So,
for better or worse, I think they're doing that because they indicate a need for those 2 license types. We obviously have a lot of interest in growers and provisioning centers and maybe to a lesser extent processors. But in order for this whole program to work, we need safety compliance facilities. We need secure transporters. And it might be some sort of indication to make the barrier to entry less difficult for those 2 license types.
Yeah, certainly that does make sense. Although, again, what the requirements would be to operate is a totally separate thing. So as we learn, and we're going to see our emergency set of rules, I think, are going to come online very soon. At least that's the indication from Lara. So I think we'll learn a lot more about those 2 particular licensees, and in particular, secure transporter. A common question we get all the time is how do we business plan for its cost in the wholesale cost of our flower, for instance? Like, how will that impact market value? And quite frankly, until we know the metrics, like, do we pay for it to be shipped? Do we pay for it to be delivered? Are we paying by mileage or pound? All those things will kind of sort themselves out. So we're just going to continue to proceed forward until we get more data set to work with. I mentioned earlier how, Brisboe kind of at first kind of described, we're looking for this liquid capitalization requirement, and at that meeting he actually said, well, it's got to be liquid. And a lot of people said, what does that mean?
Right.
So when I was saying that Lara was listening, I think the bulletin, the next points that it points out, kind of play into that. So first and foremost, what is the big change that we see here regarding how liquid capital is defined? Sure.
So they've clarified that of the total capitalization requirement, only 25% of it needs to be in a liquid asset.
So before we read the rest of that or describe it, liquid asset, liquid capitalization, are we not talking the same thing?
Well, they're slightly different. A liquid asset is something easily convertible to cash. So cash would be the most obvious one. Other things are included. They have actually a list of things. They say things like, what else is on there? Well, those can be a whole cat out of the bag thing. But inventory, 401k plans, stocks, bonds, things of that nature are
things that you could sell readily without having to worry about a market condition that could impact its value. So if you have $100,000 in your 401k, that's liquidity for purposes of how much you can withdraw. So it's a specific number that's attestable. In other words, we can define it. Oddly, what they actually put in there, and I think this is really interesting to me, is marijuana inventory.
Right.
The law doesn't say that we get to use that inventory for actually becoming a licensee. In fact, right now it says seeds or seedlings. So if you have full-grown plants and they have a street value for purposes of capitalization, it's not yet clear that we can even bring those in as an asset to the company.
Yeah.
So it's very curious how they're going to utilize that as part of the capitalization.
And it's not even clear if a plant or a genetic material will count. They might mean usable products or ready-to-be-consumed products. I know there's legislative efforts to kind of make some changes to those restrictions, but until they do, as I read that, that's like a medical that you have ready to be provided to your patient.
Yeah, or maybe, because it's interesting, in compliance with, it says marijuana inventory, and then in paren, in compliance with the MMFLA. or administrative rules. And I think some people actually were very concerned about the fact that they have these investments they've made in lighting equipment, and pots, and in nutrients, and all the bells and whistles to get their caregiver operation up and running. And why should we not get the value of that investment made over a period of time as part of our capitalization requirement? Now, these aren't necessarily liquid because you can't necessarily sell it for a specific value without the market telling you how much it's worth. And so, to that end, I'm glad that at least we have this somewhat ambiguous description of marijuana inventory.
Sure.
But I also think that as a CPA begins to, look at it, as we provide this to the state in the application, that it's going to be looking at what your investment was, taking out its depreciated value, and all those kind of things for that attestation. So, like you're saying, you're going to have products that are ready for market, but they're not tested. They're not truly actually in the licensed marketplace yet. But nonetheless, we're going to not lose the value of the work we've done leading up to that license.
Right.
And I think that's an important distinction. Now, I mentioned CPA attestation, so I guess this is an area that's actually caused some questions as well. What does that mean? Well, there's a couple ways I guess we can look at it, but the most important way is that what they really truly mean is that a CPA has done the review of your financials, that they've written a letter attesting under notary, subject to perjury, that your financials are as described. So I think what the process is going to allow for is, instead of us just filing a bunch of paperwork hoping somebody on the other side at the state level actually knows what they're looking at and can decipher what could be dozens, if not hundreds, of different kinds of financial record keeping, that in fact we pull that out and put it into professional ranks of certified public accountants that can provide that kind of information for us. Is that how you read it as well?
That was my interpretation of it. We'll obviously learn more moving forward, but that seems to be the most common sense explanation for what they've indicated here.
Yeah, and so we know here at the Cannabis Legal Group is we're putting these applications together and requesting things like, working with you on your business plans and working with you on your security and waste disposal and all of that. Getting your tax returns, getting your assets together, and putting it in a common form that somebody else will be able to look at it and verify it is going to be part of that process. Our office will be working with CPAs to do that, and so expect that that's just going to be one of those costs of entry into this application process. So there's no hiding the fact it's going to be necessary. I think that as we go through, it's a little bit intuitive now, and so what we're seeing is that there'll be this two-step application, and the state isn't going to necessarily be the one to dictate what your financials are. Rather, you'll provide that to them in a trust but verify type of setting.
Correct.
All right. So the education seminar, we both had the pleasure of attending on Wednesday. Large room, a lot of people. It was great to see everybody and see a lot of familiar faces. But it was split into two parts, and really I think the first part was more productive, at least for our purposes.
It was, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what your impression of that is.
Sure. So what they did is they walked us through how the online application is going to work when you're submitting your state license application. You create an account and you start uploading information about the various people with ownership interest in the company or LLC that you're going to have pursuing the license, and then they showed us how uploading documents, labeling them as the different attachments to that application is going to work. It's a fairly intuitive system. It's going to take some getting used to, but most people want to undergo this practice are going to feel pretty comfortable with the rules and the way that program works.
Yeah, it seems very like, step 1, step 2, step 3, and if you jump from step 3 to step 5, step 4 will still be there redlined for you. And, I think as we've previously discussed and brought to bear that, online, if we envision this like virtual file drawer that we're submitting these documents and sliding them into, that it's going to, start off as when you register your name, it effectively turns yellow. And until that drawer is full, whether phase 1 or phase 2, separate documents needed, it remains yellow until everything that's requested is in it. And so from a checklist standpoint, there is a document checklist with the state that we discussed last week. And those are actually, as you go through step 1, step 2, you upload those documents, into the various parts of the drawer, And then actually a questionnaire might pop up that you got to follow through. So it's not just setting up documents, but it's answering specific questions that might lead to further answers and additional documents to provide, in particular in the criminal background area, asking specifically if you've had a criminal felony. If the answer is yes, you're now getting into a position to explain it.
Right.
And so the key will be is always knowing where you're at in the process. So as long as it remains yellow, there's more work to do. And I think it's very fair to say phase 2 is going to suffer a longer yellow than phase 1.
Yeah.
Phase 1, I think, is, describe your entity, describe your partners. So it's not necessarily where your business plan is, but it's certainly where your entity formation, your operating agreements, your relationship to all the parties that have an interest in your business for purposes of the vetting.
Right. Yeah, it's more or less a process to generate who's going to be undergoing these background checks and verifying you have everyone you need.
Yeah, and in the statute, we know it actually gives you the opportunity to correct that if there's any defects. So we have been asked, well, what if we have somebody who's on our team that is determined to be ineligible? And I think if we read what we heard from, read the statute and what we've seen from this presentation is effectively if that person is somebody who's not eligible, they likely can just be removed from the application in that yellow form and then get certified to go back further and hopefully at that point turn green.
Right. They do seem to be treating the entire application process as a process where you're moving through all these little smaller steps. And when they need more information or more clarification, or if you run into an issue, it's not going to sink the entire amount of effort you put into it. You'll have an opportunity to provide more information or to make changes in order to continue moving forward through it.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And so as we discussed this mental file drawer I was mentioning, the file drawer is still open. You're still able to interact with it. And the truth is, until it's green, nobody on the other side has actually opened the back end to grab that information.
Right.
So it seems very clear that the state is effectively saying, you do your job, get it in there, and once it's ready, we're ready. And so whoever actually fills the drawer first is the first application, not the person who starts and puts their name in first. There's no queue that really puts anybody in order until it's in full. And so it seems like step 1, which we've now known to be the area where we're going to get vetted and determine eligibility. Step 2 is determine licensability. Is your plan ready to receive a license from the state of Michigan? And I think that there's so many communities out there that don't have their ordinances in play. That's why Travis and I are still traveling all around the state trying to get this done. But what that really means is that many people will be waiting out their communities, even if every other aspect of their plan is in place. And just literally getting that final letter of approval from the township or the certification of zoning or whatever the form of that may provide from the township. So we just have to understand that it's not rushing to December 15th.
Yeah.
That's day 1, not day end.
Right. And it's really day 1 of a process that's already underway. There's plenty of work you can do, and everyone needs to do at the municipality level that really has been something you can be working on for several months.
Preparing all the items in the documentation, even if you don't have that. So, if there's, 20 things that we need and you have 19 ready, why not get 19 in there? And so day 1 will just simply be getting started. Day 2 or phase 2 is going to be, whenever it's ready. So I think that it's very conceivable that somebody who files their application on January 10th, but has all of the itemized documentation, may end up jumping ahead of everybody that started December 1st who are still waiting on something.
Exactly.
And I think that is a very important distinction. So as long as we understand our process and we can get moving, again, we encourage everybody either working with us or on their own, get working on this stuff. The checklist is there. You can start building your packages now. There were a couple of questions that came up. So the first thing I want to do is address, there's a question regarding whether or not the $300 or $1,000 for a provisioning center license can apply to a mobile dispensary. I think that's a short answer.
Sure. Unfortunately, in Michigan, they're not going to be allowing mobile dispensaries. I know other states, there's some processes where you can operate a business like that. That's not currently something provided under the MMFLA, unfortunately.
No, not at all. In fact, what we were specifically required to do is get a property zone compliant. So if you can move it, it'll probably move away from its compliance.
Right.
So that alone is going to be something that our statute doesn't actually provide for. The other thing was mentioned is 18-year felony.
Yep. The cutoff for felonies under the statute is 10 years. Now, they're going to consider all criminal history, even if it's 40 years old. But, that's part of the background check. They'll be aware of it. It might be relevant to a decision they make. But if your felony is more than 10 years, then it's not a jeopardization of the application right now.
Right. The line in the sand is if you were, if your felony was 9 years, 11 months ago, you're ineligible to apply. So you can't even start. Or at that point in time, I guess it's dead on the vine. But if you're 10 years, 1 month ago, you can go through the process, but you're still being scrutinized as to what the criminality was. And so the boards will have discretion to say yes or no to people. The further removed it is, the less likely it's going to have any impact. But it doesn't mean you won't have to explain it.
Sure.
That's all. As far as some other questions, we have a 2-year residency question. And Julio, what that really is referring to is that if you're an individual applicant and you're filing under your own name, you have to have been a resident of the state of Michigan for 2 years. If you're part of an LLC that's getting a grower or processing license, then somebody on your team, be it an employee or an owner, has to have been a caregiver for the preceding 2 years. So that's the way to deal with the residency requirements. So,
David has a question about municipality. Have they opted in or not yet? We have a wonderful map that just launched on our website yesterday, was it?
Yeah.
So I encourage you to go to Cannabis Legal Group's website and take a look at that municipality map. It really helps you conceptualize what municipalities have moved forward and where others are in the process, and kind of gives you a look at the entire state.
Yeah, it's cannabislegalgroup.com, municipalities. You'll find it at the top of our page right there, and it's really a fantastic interactive map that our stud Ryan Battisil put together. He's our back-end IT guy, and he's really amazing, and so we really appreciate his hard work to get something that is easier for us to interact with after all this time. And we've been doing our best to, of course, maintain that list. So, I think we've covered a lot today. There's going to actually be a big, announcement that our firm will be making on Tuesday. So look for Barton to be bringing that Facebook Live to you on Tuesday from Colorado. And so we're very excited to see that announcement and bring that to you. The other thing I want to do is let everybody know we have an upcoming seminar on December 8th. So like we have in the past, we'll be at Cobo Hall. This is 1 week before the beginning of the licensing phase, so we expect we're going to have all the rules in place. We're going to have some fantastic attorneys from the law firm of Vincente Cederberg joining us from Colorado. They've been involved in a number of applications throughout the country, and as we've been getting our own PhDs in cannabis in the application process, they've been a fantastic group to work with, and so we're very excited about that. Until then, you can look for us next Friday. Barton and I will have the pleasure of coming to you from Las Vegas at the at the Marijuana Business Conference. So we'll be thrilled to be able to bring you all up to speed about all the changes and what we've seen in the industry that Michigan is heading into. So I thank you very much, Travis. Great job today. Your first Facebook Live. I think you'll get used to seeing Travis's mug here, the two bearded guys, I guess. But we're thrilled to have you. Thank you for joining us on Cannabis Live, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Great. Well, it's nice to meet everyone. Thanks.
Have a great day.